Hi guys, welcome back. In this video we get the boot floor and the rear cross members back into the gear, so check it out. Okay, so I'm just trying to test fit this rear cross member that goes in across here. Because of the shape of this, now that we had to change this, if you remember, by shrinking this edge. This edge needs to be touching up against here, but it can't because this shape. So I've now got a reshape round here, which I'll probably just cut a section out of there and weld a flange back on, just so we can move this whole panel this way. Right. Okay, so this whole area is different on a Beetle rear cross member. Just going to put up a picture of a Karmann Ghia one now. Okay, so we did this gear a few years back. I know it's a low light. Well, it was 1950s Karmann Ghia, so it's slightly different, but it will show the key differences in this area. So we need to modify this to suit this Karmann Ghia. Okay, so I'm going to cut this shape out here, just this one skin, and drill out these spot welds, and then we're going to lose this whole section because that's what, from what I've looked at, is how that's supposed to be. So yeah, let's get cracking. So this is how I've cut the Beetle cross member. So you got, this is obviously cross member, this is cross member. This is the double skin bit. So I've just cut that up there and obviously lost the whole piece here, which is this triangle piece. So I think they just cut across there from factory. But in that picture, it looks like there's another piece that might weld to this and forms the flange that goes along the floor here. And then you've got the closing panel over the top of that. Okay, so I've made this little cardboard template off of the gap that will be the closing panel on the back of the rear cross member. I've taken this off the near side because there was more to copy that side. So I just need to mirror image it for the other side. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so this is the panel that I've just made. So it's basically a little closing panel that goes in here. And this is the rear cross member, that big triangle panel. So basically a Beetle one extends to about here. You cut that off and cut the sort of support that goes in here. And then they made this panel. The reason I figured this panel out was a mixture of reasons. There were some remnants left on this car. So obviously I knew that this flange was here. I had some pictures of two other Karmann Ghias that we've restored in the past, and my mate Mabo is restoring a Karmann Ghia, and he has some pretty useful body cuts that still had some of these bits on them. It did seem that early cars, so like the low lights, were twin skin here, so it was an extra panel over the top, but these later cars, this panel and the return flange that sits on top of here are all one panel. So yeah, thanks to Mabo, but yeah, we got there in the end. So now I just need to mark the hole there, how it bolts to the floor pan, and make a little captive nut. I've already made the other side, so we can whip it all out and weld it together. So here I'm just drilling and tapping some 5mm plate to make the captive nuts for these new little panels. The reason I'm using 5mm plate rather than a nut is because it looks more like the factory original panel. Okay, so these are ready to weld together now. So these are the closure plates that we've made, and we've got a little captive that I've made and welded to that. Just a bit of 5mm plate drilled and tapped. The reason I've done that rather than just welding a nut on is that that's how Volkswagen or Karmann did it. And these are the Beetle rear cross members chopped down. So these would have been wider with a load of pressings here to fold inside the rear quarter panel. And we've also chopped down the second skin, so it's only single skin here, just so that replicates how it was all done at factory as well. So the next job is to prep all of these up, bit of weld through primer, pin them together and spot weld them together, and then they're ready to fit to the car. With the rear cross members and the closure panels all spot welded together now, I just need to remove the old remnants of the original panels that are left on the car. Okay, both cross members are now prepped and ready to go. We've got a weird little patch, well it's not patch, panel spot welded to both of them. They look a bit shonky, but check out this picture of a factory one, I'll post it up now. Yeah, it kind of looks, well, it does look the same. It kind of looks like an afterthought, but that's how they were. So yeah, we can now get these fitted to the car. Okay, so both rear cross member panels are now bolted in. As you can see, a bolt and a bolt there. We've got some holes here to plug weld the two together. The rest of the body is bolted down, so I know all of the mounting points are in the right place. And then that's our little closing panel that we've already spot welded to the cross member, which is this piece here. So it's now all ready to weld in. Okay, so the rear cross members now welded in the middle, still fully bolted down, and in the wheel arches, like you just saw me do. And this is now time to fit the boot floor. So the customer started having a go at this restoration before it came to us. Purchased this Beetle boot floor, put a slice in it because it seemed a bit wide, and obviously sliced it across the back. So I'm now going to offer this up and yeah, just see how it sits. Okay, so I've now got the boot floor fitted. It's screwed in with Tech screws down the sides. I actually had to cut this entire flange off because the whole boot floor was too wide. So this is currently overlapping, and I've just tacked it, so I'll trim that back and butt weld it back together. And likewise in the corners, this is a different shape to a Beetle, so this had to be reshaped as well. So yeah, I've got a bit of work. I'm going to take it back out, do what I need to do to it, prep it all for welding, and then it's ready to go. So yeah, as mentioned, the corners of the boot floor needed reshaping just to meet that inner rear body mount. This involved just slicing them, shaping it around a little bit more, and then welding them back up and grinding the welding down for a seamless finish. The flange on the other side though needed completely removing and moving in about 3 or 4 mil, and then all of that welding was ground down and the rest of the boot floor prepped for welding. So I drew these white lines when I had the boot floor pinned in before. This just shows where the flange comes up to and where I need to clean up ready for welding. Now the inner arches are prepped for welding, I'm just putting the boot floor back in and using Tek screws to pin it back in the exact same position it was before. Right, time to get welding. First of all, I tack in all along the back edge where it's going to be seam welded, and then once that is seam welded, I can plug weld all the way around the rest of the panel. Well, there we go. That's 2 rear cross members in, closing panels and the boot floor. And that's looking much more solid now. Well, with those rear body mounts, rear cross members and boot floor back in, the shell is now structurally sound again. This should just leave all the aesthetic panels, all the outside bodywork panels to go. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In the next one, we'll try and get some more metalwork finished off at this back end. And in the meantime, if you guys can like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. It really helps the channel. See ya.